Hey guys, this is Lindsay. I'm super excited to be on my very first Periscope. Hey Rhonda, good to see you. Periscope chat. This is totally new for me, so thank you for joining me for my very first time. Today the topic I wanted to share with you is one that's very close to my heart, living the dream. This has many different meanings for me in my life. It's actually my profession. I coach people around turning their dreams into reality. I've been doing that for about 15 years, but it's also something I like to practice in my own life. So I try to find my edge. I try to be really honest with myself, figure out what's working for me, what's not working for me, and then adjust accordingly so that day by day, step by step, I'm working towards creating a life that resonates at my highest level. So a little bit of background on me. I started out not living the dream. I was living somebody else's dream, the dream I thought I should be living. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to that. Any of you relate to just going on autopilot and doing the things you think you should be doing instead of the things you actually want to be doing? So that was my story. I started out, I went to a high-end business school. I got a great job in global management consulting, making all kinds of money, looked really good on paper, except I was miserable. So that was the first time that I really started to wake up to living life according to my own rules and not according to the rules that everybody else had set or that I had made up that everybody else had set. So at that time I was really scared, but I did the thing I was most afraid to do, which was to step away from my comfort zone, my safety net, and I quit my job and I went traveling around the world. And it was terrifying for me because I'd always just traveled along the path and really trying to just do the thing that I was supposed to do. And all my friends were going off and doing their MBAs and doing all this very, in my mind, very safe, predictable stuff. And there I was flitting around the world with no plan, no idea what I was going to do. And it turned out to be the very best thing I could have ever done. I came back and again, I had no clue what I was going to be doing. So I just started to chat with everybody I could get my hands on and ask them what they were doing. Did they love their life? Did they love their job? And if they did, how did they get there? And if not, why not? And how could they, make it better? Any advice they had for me? And I just gathered as much information as I possibly could. And eventually I started to do some work on myself and writing down what did I want to create. And I created this life plan. So we're going to talk a little bit later about the 5 steps that you can take to start living the dream right now. And that is something I'm super passionate about. So again, I've lived it in my own life and I've come up with some tools, some ideas, some perspectives to live the dream in your own life. And everybody's dream is different, obviously. And my dream actually changes day to day, year to year, month to month. So it's really an iterative process that we have to keep reevaluating. Hey Evan, good to see you. So excited to be on here. Thank you. So that's how it started. And at the time, I decided to just throw caution to the wind and I did my first, I guess you could call it a vision board at the time. Hey Evan. I was a management consultant. So what I did was I opened up a PowerPoint presentation because that's what I knew. And I started to create a PowerPoint presentation and I called it my life plan. And in that life plan, I wrote out my dream of everything I wanted. I thought, okay, what do I really want to do in this lifetime? So I'd just come back from traveling. Hey, and so one of the things I said I definitely want to be able to do is travel as much as I want, have total control over my time, over my hours, over my flexibility, that if I wanted to take off for 6 months and travel, I could. That was really important to me. So I was like, okay, write that down. Then the next thing I did was I thought, okay, you know what? I'm a real cottage girl. I'm a northerner. I saw Rhonda on there. We're the northern girls from Northern Ontario. So for me, it was non-negotiable to be spending my summers at the cottage with my family. And someday if I had kids, I knew I wanted them to have that same experience. So I wrote that down. And then I kept going and I was like, okay, what else do I want? I want to work with people who are super smart, super cool, doing really fun things. So I wrote that down and then I said, and I want to be making good money because I want to enjoy nice things in life. So I wrote that down too. And I kept going and going and going. And then I said, you know what? I really love to practice yoga and run. So I want to be able to do all that and stay super fit, super healthy. Wrote that down. And then I thought, you know what? I really love kids and I think I'm going to have kids someday. So I'm going to have let's have 4 kids. So I wrote that down and I wrote it all down and I kept writing and writing and writing. And then all of a sudden I looked at it at the end, and I looked at it and I started to laugh at myself. I was like, what am I even thinking? This is impossible to have all of these things at the same time. So I literally took that plan and I put it away. I put it in a drawer. I didn't even look at it again. But I started to do coaching courses and started to create things one step at a time, and again, talking to loads and loads of people. I didn't even know what coaching was, which is my current career for the last 15 years. But I started telling people the hunch I had, my intention, which was like, I really want to connect with people and be like a guidance counselor, but for adults, so they can really take their lives to the next level. So after I told that to enough people, finally, one of my friends said, I think you're talking about coaching. So it was only by staying in the question and, hi, Jack, good to see you. So I just kept talking about it, and I didn't know exactly what I was even trying to create, but I had a glimmer. It was just a glimpse of a feeling about something I wanted to head towards. And it was just by taking one step at a time that I started to create it, because I didn't even know what it was. So today we're going to talk about, thank you for my hearts, Jack. Thanks, Ev. So anyways, what I did was I just started talking about it, and I just was literally making it up as I went along. So today we're going to talk about 5 steps you can take to start living your dream now. And a lot of it is very simple, but not easy. So it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of stepping into the unknown. But if you build your capacity to do that, it does actually become easier over time. You actually become comfortable being uncomfortable. And so that's what I started to practice. So I had no idea what I was doing. I was making it up as I went. But the thing I challenged myself to do, and we're going to talk about that in a minute when we get down to the 5 steps that you can take to start living the dream right now, was I did one thing a day that scared me. And that was my practice. So it could have been to call somebody up who I thought I would like to have as a client, or it could have been to publish something, something I'd written, or to agree to do an interview or something I was scared to do. Or sometimes the scariest thing for me was to take the day off and do nothing. Can anybody relate to that? You're all go, 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 go. And it's really scary sometimes to just stop and give yourself permission to just relax and receive. So yeah, Jackie, you know what I'm talking about. You have that similar go, go, go energy, which is a blessing, and then sometimes it can be a curse. So whatever it is that scared me, that's the thing that I would do. So I remember the first step of the 5 steps we're going to talk about is to listen. Number 1, listen. And for me, the slowing down and the listening was what allowed me to start to really, especially as an entrepreneur, exactly, go, go, go. If you love what you do, it's hard to slow down and just take a break, because sometimes our greatest ideas, our greatest insights come not when we're doing and running and creating and serving, but actually when we're taking care of ourselves, when we're listening, when we're receiving. So for me, the practice that I really attached to was yoga, and also long distance running at the time. I was really big into running. So when we offer the first step of 5 steps to living the dream right now, it's to listen. So the practices I did, as I said, were running and then yoga, but it could be anything for you. It could be taking a walk, bubble bath, reading, swimming is another one. That's a beautiful, quiet, meditative practice. But it's only through going into quiet that you can actually start to listen to the whispers. I call them the whispers of the soul or of your spirit, and really start to tap into what your highest self, what your inner wisdom is trying to tell you. And sometimes it can be a tough, really hard truth, like what you're doing right now is not working for you. And that can be really scary, whether it's your career, your relationships, the city you're living in. It can be really scary to admit the truth to yourself. But the alternative is to be living in a lie or a fantasy for the rest of your life. So for me, it's always worth going into the truth, even if it sometimes is the hard truth or the brutal truth. So number 1 step in living the dream right now is to listen. And I like to, again, talk about listening to the whispers of the soul before they become the screams of the soul. And that can manifest in many different ways. It could be the breakdown of a relationship, or of your physical body, or of your workplace. If you ignore those signs for long enough, you can really start to have some pretty significant consequences of that. So it could go into feelings of disconnection, maybe even depression. Hey, Jeanette, how are you? So it's, again, just listening and taking the time for quiet before the whispers of the soul become screams. And in my case, sometimes I need to be hit over the head pretty strongly. So sometimes I ignore the whispers. I'm pretty stubborn and determined, but I'm learning to be more compassionate with myself. And that's another offering with listening, is to listen and then trust that whatever it is that your inner wisdom is telling you, there's truth to it. So going with it. So some practices that I practice: yoga, meditation, running, swimming, walking, whatever those things may be. There's so much wisdom. The reason I've highlighted a lot of physical practices is that it starts to help us develop a relationship with our bodies. And there's so much wisdom in our bodies. So, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. I do have makeup on. Thank you, Jack. Sometimes I get out of my Lulus and put on real people makeup and clothes. Thank you for that. Thank you for noticing. I did take the time for that. So the body awareness that comes from exercise, sport, or any of that can be the direct route to your highest wisdom. So one of the things I noticed is that in my own body, I used to suffer from a lot of anxiety and worry. It was part of my kind of type A personality. And so I noticed I would get knots in my stomach when things weren't quite right for me. And over time, I learned how to breathe through that and channel it, but not just channel it, but to actually listen to it and think about, oh wait, maybe something's not quite right for me here. Maybe something's not going on that's right for me. And I started to imagine that those knots in my stomach, instead of being knots and dragging me down, I imagined that they were butterflies, because I love the analogy of butterflies emerging from the cocoon. And I started to think, oh, wait a minute. I might be nervous, but there's also excitement here. So I started to really shift my perspective around what my body was trying to tell me, use things like breath work and yoga and running to keep my mind calm, but then at the same time take the information that my body was trying to give to me and use it in a meaningful way. So one of the practices I did in the listening step one of living the dream was to listen to my body, and what I came up with was, you know what, I'm going to listen to this body awareness and I'm going to follow the butterflies. So that's become one of my mantras in my entire life, which is when I start to get the butterflies in my stomach, it tells me that there's aliveness there, there's maybe some fear, but also some excitement, because the physiological response to fear is the same as it is to excitement. So now as I listen to the butterflies, I start to think about, oh, I'm excited about something here and I'm a little scared. And then that's the thing I try to dive right into, leap off the cliff and go for it. So number one, listen, follow the butterflies. Whatever it is, you could get different body awareness fatigue, feeling tired. Those might be signs that you're not engaged, you're not living your highest life. Or you could have that feeling of fulfillment, exhilaration, like you lose track of time, that flow state. To me, that would be good information that you're on the right path, that you're really leading your highest life. So whether it's positive feedback or negative, there's no such thing. It's all just information about whether or not you're moving towards or further away from your highest potential, highest life, highest manifestation. So 5 steps to living the dream. Number 1 is listen. Number 2, paint the picture. So what is the dream? What is the thing you're trying to create? And so this can manifest in many different ways. One of the simplest ways is to just close your eyes and imagine, where do you want to be 3 years from now? So actually, let's do that right now. If you guys are on with me right now, just take a moment, close your eyes, if it's helpful to close your eyes, and take a big inhale, and then exhale. And now just imagine your life 3 years from now, and imagine that you're strong and healthy and vital, that your relationships are thriving and intimate and connected, that you're earning a great living doing work that you love, that's fulfilling, that you're having adventures that fulfill you, you're learning, you're growing, and just imagine that life and picture it. Imagine what it feels like. Imagine who's there with you. So that's one of the ways you can start to paint the picture. And as I said earlier in my story, I had no idea what I was trying to create. I just had little snippets of intentions, whether it was to have a family or whether it was to travel or to have intimate relationships or meaningful work. I didn't know what it would look like or how it would all come together. So when we paint the picture, another way to do it are things like vision boards. So getting magazines and cutting them all out. This is a thing I did very often, and I still do. Also, you can draw out your vision, your 3-year vision. Get out crayons and have some fun, some sparkles and other kinds of crafty things. It helps to engage your right brain, which is the more creative, kind of abstract thinking side of your brain, and also where intuition lies. So there's a reason you get out those crayons and get that place of childlike curiosity. Hey, Maz, good to see you. And in this childlike curiosity, start to imagine and pretend you're like 7 years old and anything is possible. Hey, Kelly, good to see you. So in that place of your right brain creative engagement, start to, again, that visualization that we just did, start to draw it. And draw, it doesn't even matter if I'm the worst drawer on the planet, although my kids think I'm really good, so I appreciate that from them. But it doesn't even matter what it looks like. It can be stick figures, it can be symbols, it can be words, doesn't even matter. Just start to tap into. It's often very subconscious because our conscious minds sometimes want to be like, no, that is not going to happen. You cannot quit your big job to go traveling around the world. That is crazy. So your logical mind might be screaming at you, and your self-doubt, your saboteur, they might be like, not going to happen, not safe over there. Hello, we don't know traveling. We don't know this whole other place of meaningful work. We don't understand that. Stop right now. So that's what we want to tap into, your creative brain, your intuitive mind. So drawing, cutting out pictures, visualizing, whatever it may be. What you want to come up with at the end of the day is the what. And what do you want to create in your life? What does your ideal life look like? Forget about the how. It doesn't even matter how you're going to get there. You want to just paint that picture. And it may be a very blurry picture at first. I like to think about it as like those old kind of dot posters, which when you first looked at them, they just looked like dots and didn't make any sense. But the longer you stared at them, the image started to appear out of these seemingly abstract and random dots or splatters on a page. So as you go through the process of living your dream, it's important to just populate the poster, the image, with pieces of information. What works for you? What doesn't work for you? How do you like to work? Who do you like to hang out with? What does your ideal day look like? What does your ideal week look like? What can you not stand to do anymore? Who can you not stand to be around anymore? It goes on and on and on. And these are just little tiny pieces of information that over time start to populate the poster or the image of what your dream looks like. So step number 1, listen. Listen to your intuition, listen to your body, listen to your emotions. It's all information. Step number 2 is paint the picture. What is your dream? What do you want to create? Another great tool in painting the picture is to just ask yourself regularly, what do I want? What do I want? What do I really want? If you ask yourself that every day, every moment, you start to train yourself to start to pay attention to what your inner wisdom is calling for, what your highest self is wanting, and starting to block out maybe what other people want for you or what you think other people want for you. So just asking yourself, what do I really want? What do I want? So thank you for the hearts. I love them. They're so cute. So step 1, listen. Step 2, paint the picture. 5 steps to living the dream. Step number 3, maybe my favorite, although I love them all, leap. So we've listened, we've painted the picture, we've received, we've processed, and now it's time to get into action. So in yoga, we talk about the balance. I'm also a yoga teacher as well as a executive leadership coach. And I love the analogy in yoga. They talk about willpower as the balance between effort and surrender. And Sharon, I know you're a yoga teacher too, so I know you can relate to this, but it's that inhale and the exhale. So as we inhale the information, the listening, and then the metaphor of the exhale is to get out and start taking action around it. So as I said before, one of the things that really works for me is the idea of following the butterflies. So how that shows up in my everyday life is, especially when I was first starting my very first major transition, which was out of my crazy corporate global management consulting job, right over to, okay, I'll go see that. I will. Okay, have fun, Maz. So, one sec. Had a timer going off. Don't know what that was. So, anyways, one thing a day that scares you. So, as you're sitting at your desk, you're getting ready, or you're out in the world, try to come up with one thing a day that scares you. So maybe it's to talk to the stranger beside you at the coffee shop. Maybe it's to sign up for that course you thought you wanted to take forever. Go on that retreat. I've had a few people on this call who have been on retreats with me. Sometimes that can be the scariest thing to do, to take time for yourself to get away and really figure out what it is. Maybe it's make a phone call. Maybe it's admit to yourself that whatever you're doing isn't working and get really real. Or maybe it's having a conversation with a loved one that may be impacted by the shifts that you may be about to undertake. So whatever it is, do one thing a day that scares you. Duncan's class scares Evan. All right, tomorrow morning, Ev, we'll see you there. Duncan, well, He's like good scary. He's, you know, finding your edge for sure. And Ev, thank you for bringing that up, because that's actually a beautiful place to practice. And thank you for inviting that opening for me, because one of the places that I've learned and I offer to you as a tip to leap or to step into your fears is actually on the yoga mat or in any kind of physical activity, rock climbing, skiing, whatever it is that has a bit of an edge for you, finding your edge and using it as a metaphor to practice, again, that idea of stepping into your fear, doing it anyways. So for me, yoga has become that place. Not only is it a beautiful place for meditation and for receiving, but I also love to practice very rigorous handstanding and arm balances and those kind of edgy kind of postures, because not only does it allow me to have fun and play with, I do really kind of enjoy that edge in life. So I love to ski fast. I love, you know, boating and water sports, but the inversions and arm balancing, you know, you guys love that too. I know, so fun. So much aliveness on the edge. So that's another beautiful part about this whole journey, is that as we're moving forward, we can also experience the bliss as we go through. So every time we step into our fears, whether it's handstanding or calling that potential client or whatever, booking that world trip that you've been meaning to take forever. Anybody have some like major dreams they've been waiting to do? Maybe you're a little scared to go out and do it. Well, there's a beautiful thing. I know, we all do. So it's really about tapping into that fear and then stepping into it. There's aliveness there. There's vitality. And move to Bali. Yes, Bali. We love Bali. Going there in the spring. So excited about it. So Bali actually was one of my things. Thanks for saying that, Jack, because for me, I went to Bali a year ago for 1 month. And oh, yoga. Okay, great question. So what type of yoga for a mom with zero balance and zero time? I would highly recommend any yoga is good yoga, first of all. But there's a beautiful, if you have no time really, and I have 4 kids, I totally understand no time. There's a beautiful site called yogaglow.com, and it's got every kind of yoga you can imagine in every kind of time frame, from 5 minutes to an hour and a half. The most spectacular teachers that you can imagine. Yay, Yoga Glow, yogaglow.com. So it's yogaglo.com. And the beautiful thing about that, I do it all summer at my cottage because I move up there with my kids, and there is no yoga up there. And so I practice, and my practice actually improves, ironically, in the middle of nowhere really, really well. And then you can do 5 minutes, you can do 10 minutes, or an hour and a half, whatever you have, and you can do it. I've done it in a space literally is the size of my yoga mat. So between a bed and a closet, I've only had room for my mat, and I've practiced my yoga in the middle of the woods of Northern Ontario. So yeah, highly recommend Yoga Glow. And just if you can even do 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, that's at number 1. Step number 1 is listening, taking the time for quiet, calm your mind. Even 5 minutes a day of breathing, sitting, taking quiet is going to make a huge difference in your life over the long run. And then with baby steps, as we leap, step number 3, leap into our fears or the unknown, we do tiny little baby steps that over time accumulate to huge, massive, cumulative change in your life and shift in your life. So again, if it's 5 minutes of yoga, if it's 1 phone call, 1 trip to Bali, whatever it is, tiny steps, big steps, just do 1 thing a day that scares you. The research shows, which I love, there's a great book called The Confidence Code, that as we step into our fears and do the thing we think we cannot do, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, it doesn't even matter if we succeed or fail at whatever it is we're afraid to do. It's the act of simply doing it that increases our confidence. So whether you succeed and you've done the thing you think you couldn't do, amazing, then you know you can do it. Or you fail, so you didn't actually do what you thought you wanted to do, you at least survived it, and you know what, I could do that again because I already did it once. So it's no longer that elusive thing, that scary kind of monster in the closet that you've never addressed before. So confidence is directly linked to stepping into your fears, doing the thing you think you can't do, so just get out there and do it. That's step number 3. So today, talking again about 5 things you can do to live the dream, live your dream. Yes, it's a great book. You should totally get that book. So 5 things. Number 1, listen. Number 2, paint the picture. What is the dream? What do you want? And don't worry about it if you don't have all the details. You'll figure it out as you go. Number 3, start doing it. Baby steps, conversations, tiny little 1 thing a day that scares you. Step number 4, this can be to me one of the most challenging parts of the whole journey. Stay in the question. So I tend to be a person who likes to see results quickly. I like to work hard. I'm very determined. Anybody else relate to that kind of mentality? And I like to see things happen like yesterday. So yeah, it's a blessing, but then sometimes I'm impatient. I want things to happen faster and quicker, and that excitement and passion I have can translate into frustration and lack of patience. So one of the things I try to practice that I have learned is that I don't have all the answers. Whatever you believe in, the universe, God, whatever, the bigger picture, none of the above. Sometimes life unfolds. Hi, Dave. Good to see you. Sometimes, often, life unfolds in a way you could never have predicted, you could never have planned. And so I used to be, when I was a young management consultant, right out of business school, super type A. I was all about the goal setting and the meeting, setting the goal, meeting it, moving on. And I've been humbled so many times because inevitably I'd have this beautiful detailed plan of what my life was going to look like. And then something would come, some disruptive thing in my life would come out of nowhere and take my life on an entirely different course of action than I could have ever predicted. Anybody ever had that experience when you think you're cruising along? And it could be a great thing, it could be a tragedy, it could be many different things. Yeah, we've all had those things. So you're cruising along in your life and all of a sudden, boom, some situation comes up that you have to deal with, or some opportunity comes along. Oh my God, I didn't even know that existed. I couldn't have planned for that. For me, I found that the less I try to control and plan everything, the better and better my life gets. So I just want to offer that to you guys as the fourth step in living the dream, which is to stay in the question until the answer appears. And don't rush it. Don't hurry. This is where the yoga, the meditation, the running, the swimming, whatever it does that keeps you calm, calms, quiets the mind stuff, can come in really, really handy. My impatience starts to turn into sometimes anxiety. I'm like, why isn't this happening? I want this to happen. What's wrong? What's going on? What can I do to make it happen? And for me, one of the greatest practices that I need to do is to surrender, let go, accept things as they are, and trust that whatever is meant to unfold will unfold. So that's step number 4 of living the dream, is stay in the question until the answer appears. And keep asking the questions. Sometimes the answers don't even matter. It's about asking the right questions. One of the great right questions is, what do I want? What is my truth? What is my highest self asking for? Where am I lying to myself? Where am I kidding myself? These are some really powerful questions that if you keep asking them over and over again over time, you'll start to align more and more with your inner truth manifesting in your outer life. So again, back to our 5 steps of living the dream. We're up to number 5. Oh, no answer that appears. You got to stay there longer. You're not done yet. I promise that if you stay there long, and sometimes the answer doesn't appear, actually. That's a beautiful question. Sometimes you just don't know. Thank you for bringing that up, Jack, because sometimes there is no answer. It doesn't make sense. So that's such a beautiful question. And so one of the things, especially in the last year for me, I've had another beautiful year of transformation. So after my initial big change when I was shifting from corporate world into my own business and creating this life, I woke up sort of 10 years later and I pulled out that life plan that I'd shoved in a drawer somewhere. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I actually had created pretty much every single thing that I had written down and thought was impossible 10 years before. So I hung out with that and really started to appreciate all these tools that we're talking about today, the 5 steps to living your dream. And then about a year and a half ago or so, I had an arc that was sort of closing in my life, which was having young kids, young babies, nursing, really head down in that cocoon of young family. And my baby was turning 3, and I started to realize, oh, wait a minute, there's a shift going on in my life again, and it's time for me to maybe recapture some of my own interests again, sharing my gifts in other ways outside of my work that I was doing, as well as really being engaged with the kids as I always am. But I had a little bit extra capacity now that I was no longer with newborns and toddlers nonstop. I know some of you guys are in that stage right now, so it's a really busy and beautiful time. So about a year and a half ago, I realized, oh, that dream that I had created has been a beautiful dream, and I have new dreams that are emerging. So for me, it was a lot around reclaiming myself and sharing my gifts in other ways. So I did go to Bali and took a yoga teacher training and started to go down that path, which was another shift. But a lot of stuff in the last year, one of the things that I'm busy and beautiful, I know, it's all divine, which we're going to talk about in a second. So sometimes things don't make sense, and sometimes you need to just accept things as they are, and that can be, again, one of, for me, the toughest challenges, being a person who likes to create change, make things happen. Sometimes not understanding why things have happened as they are, and not being able to change them can be the hardest part of living the dream, and that is really that piece about acceptance and non-attachment or detachment. And so when we live the dream, this is a perfect segue. One of the things about living the dream is actually realizing that this is the dream. Whatever you're doing right now in your life, this is it. This is the dream. So yes, we set intentions. Yes, we strive for things we want to create in our lives. And we balance that with acknowledging that it's all divine. Wherever you are in your life, whether it's blissful, whether it's torture, whether it's somewhere in between boring, dull, exciting, scary, confusing, that is the dream. That's the beauty of this lifetime of being fully alive. And so step number 5, in my opinion, maybe even the most important, is to find the bliss in this moment. Again, accepting that it's all made up. All the rules that we live according to it, the way our society lives, it's all made up. Somebody made up those rules. So why not make up your own rules? Why not find the bliss in this moment? So even again, if I've had those times when I had little babies and I was by myself for a week at a time and strung out and sick, and I remember one time I was literally crawling on the floor packing to go away for a month. I had no help. My nanny was sick. Everybody was gone. So it was one of my lowest points of parenting. But I really try to challenge myself to find the bliss in every moment. And this is a really, really challenging practice, especially when you're at low points. So some of the things that I go back to are, well, I'm alive. I have breath in my lungs. I have the capacity to feel things deeply. And I'm super grateful for that, because even if it's painful, I'm not so numb, I'm not so dead in my life that I can't feel it. So I have the capacity, and I've practiced the capacity to be with whatever's going on in my life so deep. I know, Jack, that's exactly it. But it is, it's really beautiful. So feeling those emotions, that could be something that is blissful in this moment. So again, being alive, being grateful for the opportunity to have challenges, and finding the bliss. Another way to do that, and realizing that this moment is the dream, is to find maybe what's the lesson in this for me? What am I meant to learn from this experience? That's a way to really start to shift your perspective in any moment, to understand or try to practice this idea that we are exactly where we should be in this lifetime. So wherever you are is exactly where you should be. So as we kind of head towards the end of this chat, I want to just re-emphasize that living the dream is really that beautiful balance, a delicate balance between setting intentions and having a direction like that, the North Star, which is an image I really connect with, coming from the north, spending my entire childhood lying on docks, looking at stars. The North Star really speaks to me. It's like it's that direction, that kind of guiding thing on the horizon that you're heading towards. You may take many different pathways as you head in that direction. So as we live the dream, we're heading in that direction towards our intentions, but we're also really trying to stay present and savor all of the moments along the way, and acknowledging and embracing that this moment is the dream. So you already are living the dream in this moment. So again, just to recap, our 5 steps to living the dream now, starting now. I'm going to show them for anybody who's a visual learner. I got some notes here. So number 1, listen. So that's finding time for quiet, meditation, yoga, running, swimming, walking in nature, whatever it may be. Number 2, paint the picture. Ask yourself, what do I want? Oh, is it backwards? Okay, there we go. Is that better, Jack? It shows backwards on mine. Can you guys read that? Yeah? Okay. So, okay, perfect. It's backwards for me. It's straight for you. Now I know. Number 1, listen. Number 2, paint the picture. Draw a picture. Do a visualization. Do a PowerPoint presentation if you're a nerd like I was when I did mine. Whatever works for you. Cut out magazines, but start to think about, what do I want? And ask yourself that every day if you want. What do I want? What do I want today? What do I want to create today? And let that be a practice that forms. Number 3, leap. Follow the butterflies. Do the thing that scares you. Take action. Be bold. Nobody's going to thank you on your deathbed for living a very safe, very boring, unenlightened, sold out on yourself life. They're going to be like, whoa, that person squeezed the juice out of life. That's how I want to go. I want to be like, there was nothing left for me to give in this lifetime. I gave everything I had to give. I succeeded, I failed, I loved, I hurt, all of the above, but I want it to be that I squeezed every moment out of this lifetime. So do it, just be bold. Number 4, stay in the question until the answer appears. Practice your patience. You may not understand why things are happening as they are. That's okay. Maybe you'll never understand. Maybe you will have the answer someday. But the point is to stay in the question and be asking the right questions. And finally, number 5, find the bliss in this moment. Understand that this is the dream. This moment, this day, this breath is beautiful, divine, and there's everything you need in this moment. So the challenge to yourself is to find the bliss in this moment. So to practice what I preach, today I'm taking another leap, which is to release my first online yoga video. So I'm kind of excited, kind of scared, following the butterflies. So I've released it on my website, northstarcoaches.com. It's an intro to handstand video because I think that handstands to me are the number one place to practice a lot of the principles that we talked about here today. So you have to listen, you have to get quiet, you have to stay focused, you need to imagine where you want to go to, picture yourself being able to do these things. You need to leap, literally leap in handstands so that you're finding your edge. Maybe you're scared, maybe you're finding your body in a different way. And stay in the question. You may practice handstand for the next 100 years. I know there are certain things in yoga I probably will never achieve in my lifetime, but I'm staying in the question, I'm staying in the inquiry, I'm experimenting, I'm exploring, seeing what's available in each day, and then finally finding the bliss. Again, whether the handstands are amazing, horrible, you love them, you hate them, just find the bliss in it, find the aliveness that you're challenging yourself, you're experimenting, you're exploring something different. And please enjoy. I would love your feedback on this chat, on the yoga video, so please feel free to connect with me either on Instagram or Facebook or my website. And thank you guys so much for showing up, and hope to see you again. I'll be doing more chats again in the future. Thanks so much, guys. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Go out and live your dreams.